What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Inside the Razorcrest. We're talking about the Mandalorian here. I know. We're already at episode 4. We've been harping over of how to do this and when to do it and what to do with it, and we said, forget it. Let's just do it. So this is episode 1 of Inside the Razorcrest from Vandals Novels with Jeremy and Clay, and we got my boy KG in the house. How y'all doing, man?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
What's going on, everybody? How we doing?
Hey, you already know what's up. I'm ready.
Let's do this. Mandalorian, man. We're in season 2. This show, of course, does not stop being epic. It does a lot of things. It does things that you didn't think it would do. It does things that you knew it would do. It does things that you read that it would do. And then it does some stuff that's just all the way off kilter. You like, what? So, episode 4, we get Mando. He gets back to Navarro with Carl Weathers and Cara Dune. I can't never remember Carl Weathers' character name. I don't know what it is. I can't never remember his name. But he gets back there with them, gets reacquainted. Last time we were on Navarro, they were getting pulled up by the Pullout Boys. With Moff Gideon, they pulled up on them with some guns. And we ended that season in Navarro. So it was kind of cool to go back to Navarro. I'm gonna throw it to Kev. Kev, what do you think about this episode overall?
Hey man, I thought it was good. You know, one complaint I had about the show, and this is a really light complaint, was just every week it's like we're watching a video game. We getting a fetch quest every week, right? Is we got to go do this so we can go do this to do that. And that's the style of the show, so I'm not complaining too hard, but it was kind of good to catch back up with these characters that we kind of fell in love with in season 1 and kind of further the story. It's like we went back to these characters, even though his first bounty in the first episode shows back up, right? And we get with these characters, and then now we got a real big issue here with the plot that they've kind of led us into or whatever's going to, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it later, but it was really cool, man.
Okay. Jeremy, what about you, man?
Malcolm, I think we had a conversation like when we got to episode 2, and I'm with Kev. I was like, dang, I hope this isn't like a season full of filler, because it just feel like we're going here to go here to go here to do this to do that. But this one, and with episode 3 as well, it kind of feels like they knew episode 2 that would kind of be a complaint, so they was like, okay, let's ramp it up a little bit. Let's make you go see some familiar faces and reconnect some dots and stuff. And I liked it. Overall, so far, it would be my favorite episode thus far.
I have to wholeheartedly agree. And for me, I got to say the one prior to that, because we saw Bo-Katan and the chameleon known as Katie Sackhoff. Clay, what about you, man?
Nah, in a lot of stories, you always kind of get that return to basics, or like return to like the opening of the story episodes. So those are always really exciting times for like different stories and video games and things like that. So seeing that particular thing going back to Navarro was actually really cool. Like I said, we get all kind of like little filler quests here and there, but no, I think that was actually really well done for them to go back to that point. Absolutely. I loved it.
Absolutely, it was a really good episode. I think, for anybody, the funniest part in this whole episode was Baby Yoda and them cookies. And who knew that they had macarons on in the galaxy? Like, I thought that was a thing here. Like, you think they would have like some type of space cookies? Like, they just say, you know what, just put some macarons in the scene. Just put them in the scene. Somebody gonna make something real quick. Jon Favreau probably did it because he's big with his cooking. He got a whole show on Netflix where he cooks. But yeah, go put these in the same. And Baby Yoda like, hey, let me get one of them cookies. The boy just flat out told him, no. He was like, I said, goddamn, he don't know who I. Oh, all right, cool. Hold on, and I was talking to somebody the other day about the puppetry in the way that they have done Baby Yoda. Like, they're doing some effects that we haven't seen in a long time, and it really harkens back to the old days of your Muppets and your Fraggle Rock and your Sesame Street and all that good stuff. So they continue to expand on the puppetry of Baby Yoda. For me, I think that's cool because I'm a big PBS watcher. I watch everything with PBS. But we get to the deeper in the episode where we get to this supposedly base that was unmanned or wasn't nobody there for real. It's just a little stop. You know, they might pull up every once in a while. And one of the things for me, when I saw it, I said, this looks just like one of the bases from Rebels that they took over. They had captured that whole base, and the Ghost and all the other ships were there. Clay, what about that deep cut for you? And what about this whole scenery with going to that unmanned base?
Now that actually, and like Kevin mentioned, we'll probably talk about this a little bit later. There's been some points, especially with those particular scenes, that kind of harken to other points in Star Wars lore, especially when we start talking about like the sequel trilogy and things like that. How we ended up with like Snoke and et cetera and so forth. So yeah, and of course we always go back to the first season when, you know, somebody pointed out that the Doctor had a Camino patch on his jacket. So now we're going into clones, and we're seeing all that come back around, and it kind of starts pointing out a whole lot of things. You see the pieces is really starting to fit together, and everybody's drawing strings and going crazy like Charlie Day over here. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see that and see where they're kind of going with the story now, and I'm really enjoying that.
Kevin, you've always been someone that followed what they were doing, especially with Snoke. Do you think that was a Snoke clone in that one of those chambers?
I think what you saw was the beginnings of how they were able to bring Snoke to life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talk about Supreme Leader Snoke, I know that with the trilogy that just wrapped up, it may or may not have been a letdown for some folks. You know, that's a debate for another day, right? But the one thing I can share with you all is, if you've ever read anything in the extended universe, and I don't know, you know, how deep the rabbit hole goes for everybody on the phone, but they haven't, in a lot of extended universe stuff, they weren't able to clone people and have them be able to use the Force. There are some instances where it did happen, where there was a Luke Skywalker clone that could use the Force or whatever, but it's not widespread is what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. Right? That's some very specific and special stuff that they're doing. And every time that I can remember that I've ever read anything in the extended universe where there was a clone that could use the Force, it was the clone that came from the Emperor.
Yeah.
Right? So this program that they hit on right here touches on so many different things. And I think that when you go back and you look at the trilogy that just wrapped up, and you see you see Snoke's use of the Force, which is very strong. Mm-hmm. And even him doing lightning and things of that nature or whatever, you realize that, to me, when they mentioned that they didn't want to use the word midichlorian because Star Wars fans hate that word. I do not know why, but they said the M count on on Baby Yoda was high, and they were using his blood. So I think this is the start of that program. Mm-hmm. of trying to figure that out. So that's kind of my little theory. That I know I may be getting a little bit ahead, but we'll dive more into it.
Yeah, no, you good, man. Yeah, and I've watched a couple of other things where people broke down that's exactly what the M count stood for, because like you said, people don't like that M word, and we're not talking about the one Samuel Jackson uses. Jeremy, for you, when we got into this base, and this is something I've never understood about Star Wars. You have the Empire, you have these stormtroopers, all these different troopers, and they go through all this rigorous training. Why can't nobody shoot?
I think it's an inside joke. I think it's a running gag at this point, because they've broken the fourth wall and mentioned it several times that they can't shoot. I think that it's on purpose now, though, because now that and if I'm a step forward a little bit, now that we see the Shadow Troopers, mm-hmm. now there's a distinction. You know what I'm saying? Now you got the riffraff, the fodder, and now you got the elite. Because the reason I marked is because I played the video games. I didn't watch the cartoons until later, and I didn't read the comic books until like year before. And when I saw that, I popped. People finna die. that's the long and short of it. But I do like that they doing it. You know, you see the regular stormtrooper, you know what I'm saying? They can do light stuff. But when it comes to these shadow troopers, these are calculated. I can't wait. People are literally about to get erased.
Absolutely, man. Because you look at I guess you go on looking at Power Rangers, you got the regular putties, and then when Zed came around, he was like, these putties are useless. Try my Z putties, and now you got these putties was they wasn't flopping around, they was actually hitting folks. So yeah, I definitely see what you mean. Clay, what about you? Same thing.
When the Dark Troopers popped up, and I think it's what that was the distinction, because I know there's a difference between Dark Troopers and Shadow Troopers. I think there was a little bit of a twist there. So and I think they were called Dark. Anyway, so yeah, when the Dark Troopers popped up, that was a really cool thing, especially given how much history is involved with those guys. They appear in the video games, but if you look deeper into the lore and you look back to some of the older stuff, they're scary. Like, they're freaking terrifying. So yeah, to see Moff Gideon, he's got an entire room and an army of these things. Yeah, no. This is getting really intense now.
And looking back to when Mando first landed on Navarro, I didn't pay the weird guy that was just looking like he gone. Go up in here. I didn't pay that any attention until they got the call. Moff Gideon got the call, letting them know, like, I put the tracker in there, and I'm like, you sneaky bastard. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go back and watch the episode from the beginning, you can notice him looking around like, somebody see me? All right, I'm finna go ahead and do this. And I'm like, yeah, this is finna get legit real, because Moff Gideon with his fresh perm got this brand new Star Destroyer. And I'm like, oh, that's bigger than the normal Star Destroyer. Jeremy, what is your take? Because this is our first time seeing Moff in this season. What's your take on the character of Moff Gideon?
Man, first off, I'm gonna step back to episode 3. I love the fact that he's so militant and so pro-Empire that it's scary. The fact that he spoke to the previous captain and was like, hey, they breached what? Oh, you already know what's up. And the fact that the gentleman was already requesting reinforcements, and Moff was just like, nah, check yourself out. But I love the character. I love that we don't quite have a backstory to him yet. Right now, we just have this clear-cut, ruthless villain. I love that, because I think in today with comic book movies and stuff, I feel like they try to make villains a lot more relatable. And now to just get somebody that just want what he wants, and that's conquest, period, at any cost. I love it. And shout out to the new suit. It seems like an homage to, Lord Vader a little bit. So yeah, I'm with it. New perm too. Like
bro went to a fresh tailor and got that done. He went to the Burroughs, New York, got that seamed up real cool. Clay, what about you?
Giancarlo Esposito, he's a fantastic actor all the way around, and a very intimidating villain. If we go back to his role as Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, this is a guy who will smile in your face, be your best buddy, and turn around and be your absolute worst enemy and stab you in the back with something that you didn't even see that he had a second ago. He'll reach in his pocket, pull out a pen, and you're done. This guy is crazy good at proving that he can be a rather unassuming individual and still be a completely terrifying person without being able to show it. You know what I mean? He's wearing that mask really well. What he's doing with some of these things, how he's got so much behind him, like Jeremy said, we don't really have much of a backstory, and it would be really interesting to see like where we're going with this, because he's got pull. My dude's got a Star Destroyer. He's got that fresh perm. He's got that awesome new suit. He's kicking around. He's kicking around the dark saber.
Right.
Yeah.
So this guy has got something, and I want to know more about him, because like I said, I love Giancarlo. He's awesome. So yeah, Moff Gideon. Let's. Yay. That's all I can say.
Kev, for you, Moff Gideon, and where do you think we're going after this episode in particular? After seeing what he has, after seeing what he has going on, what's your take on that?
Okay, well, first off, just realistically, like the Dark Troopers, the Shadow Troopers, whatever we're gonna call them, there's so many different variants. We don't even know what we're looking at this point. But I think this is the thing. If you're gonna bring Ahsoka into this show, you got to give her an enemy worth her lighting the lightsabers, if she even does that, right? And I think that at this point now, with those with Gideon doing what he's doing, bring those troopers on. Now we got kind of a foe for Ahsoka here, and not just watching her take out a bunch of stormtroopers, right? So that's going to be pretty interesting here because Mando can't do it alone. You know, so if he catches back up with Bo-Katan and that group or whatever, even they're going to have some problems with as many of those troopers as he had in that room. So I think we're going into a thing here where there's going to be a battle, and I think it's going to be on Mandalore, and it's going to be Bo-Katan and whoever she can muster up against Gideon and his folks, because he has a Darksaber. And if you remember that previous episode, she knows that the Empire has the Darksaber. I didn't get the impression that she knew that Moff Gideon had it. So we don't know how she lost it. Last time we saw it, I think Sabine was giving it to her, if I remember correctly. Had given it to her, and it's the last time we saw the Darksaber, if I got it right.
Yep.
But I think this is going in that direction, and I think, I think Mando is gonna go talk to Ahsoka and look for answers for Baby Yoda's species and this and that or whatever. And I don't think she's gonna have those answers, but I think she'll be able to maybe commune with Baby Yoda through the Force in a way we hadn't seen before. So we could get a few more answers, but the one thing I don't want them to do, I don't want to know his home planet, and I don't want him to have a species. I want them to treat Baby Yoda like the Joker, right? I don't want anything definitive other than he exists, he's Force sensitive, and that's it. So that's kind of my take on it.
Clay, what you got, man?
No, just touching on a couple points because Kevin just pointed out, and that's one thing I was pointing out just a second ago with the Darksaber. You know, a lot of people look at the Darksaber like, oh, it's a Darksaber, but actually it has history. So you're going back to the first Mandalorian to ever be inducted into the Jedi Order by the name of Tar Vizsla. And then this Darksaber ends up going throughout history. It's wielded by several different notable people, including Darth Maul. And then, eventually it runs up in Bo's hands, and then she has it until the Great Purge, in which case she leaves Mandalore, and Moff Gideon takes it. So there is that little brief kind of abridged history there. And then, it's just understanding like the connection between the Darksaber, the Mandalorians, and the Jedi Order that's still around. Then we could very well see something, especially with Ahsoka being mentioned, we could very well see something that's akin to a clashing of those worlds.
Absolutely. And when they named Ahsoka last week, I said, we're not going to see Ahsoka. Way later on, we're not going to see her next week. And then the episode got to a point when they were running back from the base and Mando left. I'm like, I'll hit pause. I'm like, oh, we got 5 minutes left. We finna see us. Nah, bro, we ain't finna see us. So they set me up for the okie doke. Jeremy, looking at let's go to the battle that they had to get out of the base. Man, the troopers that are on those bikes. I want one of them bikes, man. They need to go ahead and make one of them. But
speeder.
Not only can they not shoot, they don't even know how to ride the speedsters good. How y'all crash?
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna cut them a little bit of slack because they jumped off a cliff.
Yeah.
And with that type of bike and the physics involved, like I said, playing the video games, and you played racers, bro. So
right.
The physics involved with going down a slope and different curves and things, I can kind of see how they crashed.
Right.
Because they jumped out there. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of slack there. But it was still exciting. To see them employ tactics, even though it failed, but to see them employ tactics and not just shoot was kind of refreshing. It brought me back to, oh God, I forgot what episode it was in season 1, where they had the chase for the child.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just interesting to see them be a threat and not just sponges, So that was a really cool thing for me.
And you, I think what it is the higher the level of the trooper, the more skilled they are. It's like if you got a better looking helmet, that means you really know what you're doing. So I wonder if there's some type of graduation effort, like, you know, you become a stormtrooper and it's like, oh, I like to apply to be a speedster, please. And then fill out the application. You got to have a certain amount of hours, and then you go up the ranks all the way till you get up your highs. I want to do that. Do they have that in there somewhere? Kevin, what you think?
Yeah, they do, because Finn was a janitor. Yeah, they do. So they have several different ranks, and you got to remember too. Like, so I put the Empire's army next to the Foot Clan as two of the worst armies in all of nerdom, right? And I got to give. I think the Stormtroopers are worse because at least with Shred and the Foot Clan, they were taking people off the street, right? Kids, and trying to train them. I mean, the Empire has the cool uniforms. They got all this money and this and that. And this is what they got. But I will say this, though. Think about the Empire. Really think about them. On a day-to-day basis, when they pull up to these planets, nobody's really challenging them, right? The Empire pulls up. The planet's like, all right, we're going to do what y'all want to do for the most part because y'all blew up Alderaan, right? So y'all already blew up Alderaan. There's no need for us to fight. We're going to do what we got to do. So this army is the most lax it is. And then when somebody shows up, you know, they have a problem because by this point, your clone troopers are pretty much out of play. You know, Rex and those guys, you know, it's a handful of them left in the galaxy, but the majority of the army is not the clone troopers. At this point, they started the process of stealing people's children from their home planets. You know what I'm saying? So this ain't the best trained army. This isn't Rex and the guys. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But getting back to Malcolm's original point, yeah, I think you got to put a request in so you can learn how to ride those speeders. And back to what Jeremy was saying or whatever. When I watched this escape, when they hopped on those speeders, I was very, very surprised that they tried to ride down the side of that mountain in that speeder. Very surprised. Like, I was like, oh man, they're really trying to get after these guys. Like, these guys were really gung-ho about doing this. It was stupid, but they got down there, you know? Yeah. So, because, you know, I'm not going to beat the episode. I love this episode, by the way, or whatever, right? But I was just like, why are these vehicles at the top of the mountain and none of them were made to travel down the side of it? It seemed like the garage would have been downstairs. Right. But hey, the Empire ain't got the best logistics man in the world. We know that, right? So there you go.
And I think they were trying to I think that's what they were trying to do before she decided to go off that side of that cliff. Because if you remember, she was trying to travel through the corridors and everything. Maybe she was trying to make it to where she could just exit out of the bottom, but wasn't able to because they was coming in and shooting.
No. I'm talking about the fact that Empire has got those vehicles 30 floors up when they should. The garage should be downstairs because none of those vehicles are made to travel in the air. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm talking about the Empire being sorry. You know what I'm saying?
But speaking of Sabine Wren, Kevin, do you think we'll see her?
Not in this season.
Okay.
Not in this season. If this thing goes, 5-6 seasons or whatever, they'll roll Sabine out. But I think I think that it's definitely a possibility because the last time we saw her, she was leaving with Ahsoka, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a possibility that this thing could keep going. And I will say this: if the last episode of this is an all-out battle, like Clay was talking about, and all those factions coming together, and we on Mandalore, Sabine will show up then. It just depends on where we end up at. But I'm not betting my money on it right now.
Another thing I wouldn't bet my money on is seeing my boy Ezra. So we're not gonna talk about
that.
We had
right.
See my boy in a minute. And just got my boy out there in the street. Ain't no telling where he was, somewhere off, frozen, cold, or something. That's my boy. But Clay, last thing, what are your takeaways from this episode, and what do you see us going next?
So the biggest takeaway from this episode that I really want to kind of look at and hope to see more of is what I've been talking about with seeing the connections between what we know from the sequel trilogy and now introducing with the Yodeling or Baby Yoda or whatever we want, the kid, the child, the cookie stealer.
Right.
By the way, those were blue milk covered fudge Oreos. Okay, let's get it right.
All right. There we go.
Always going back to that blue milk.
So they sure had that silver pack. Them the Oreos you get where they be in a box. And then you open the box and they in that silver wrapper. Yeah, that's what it is.
Thin mints. There you go.
The blue milk Thin Mints.
Yeah, there you go. But my biggest takeaway is what I'm really kind of hoping to see now is where we're going to be going with this blood, this midichlorian blood that they're gonna be using in maybe the Dark Troopers, or we're gonna see them coming around with more cyber enhancement. It'll be interesting to see where they're going with all of that, and definitely the plans of Moff Gideon. So yeah.
Jeremy, for you, last takeaway.
Bruh, I want to see some more Moff. Give me more Moff, cuz. Give me more Moff. One other thing, right? One thing we didn't hit on is you were mentioning earlier the puppeteering is really great. This parent-child dynamic is really getting kind of fleshed out this season.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because we didn't get on the red and the blue. That, bruh, I don't know about y'all, but when he shocked himself and they did that side profile of the Mandalorian, and you could see the disappointment through the helmet, bruh.
Yeah.
So I want more of that because it makes me feel like this is a family. You know what I'm saying? So,
bro, yeah. Like, all right, take the red one, and then you got the blue. Huh?
Don't let them touch.
Don't put it together. Don't put it together. Kevin, last thing for you, man. What's your takeaways and where do you think we're going?
Well, I'll say this though. I think there's a possibility here. I'm sorry, the drive's going off in the background, fellas.
No, you good.
There's a possibility here, man, that I don't know in this universe kind of where the how many Jedi we got out there, who's willing to train to do whatever. I'm gonna put this out here on this podcast. I think there's a chance that Baby Yoda becomes a Mandalorian. I think we mentioned Tarth Vizsla earlier, kind of going the other direction, being a Mandalorian to become a Jedi.
Yep.
I think Baby Yoda has a chance of becoming a Mandalorian. If you go back to episode, I can't remember what episode was in the first season, but the blacksmith, the forger, she told him, this is your symbol. You'll be a Mudhorn and you'll be a clan of 2. And right now he's trying to return the baby, but I don't know if he's ever going to be able to do that.
Yeah, because you return the baby, you get rid of the whole show.
Yep.
Yeah,
straight up.
So I think there's an opportunity or chance here that we may see him become Mandalorian. And also, there's another thing I've been thinking about. Every time we see him, he's eating, and we don't know what the life cycle is for a person of Yoda species or that creature or whatever. Don't be surprised if we come back next season and he's grown some.
Mm-hmm.
He may molt a little bit. He may shed some skin or something, right? They may do a little something like that. So I think that's kind of where we're going. But I think him and Mando are going to be together for a while. I really do.
Okay. And he very well could go off with Ahsoka them, and then come back as a Jedi, and then come back with Mando and be on adventures with him, like you said, grown up a little bit.
That too.
But,
yep.
Other than that, man, this was a great episode. We absolutely loved it. We will be back next week. You can catch Inside the Razorcrest every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central. And we will see you guys later.